This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to CWK Live. I'm your host, Dan Z, thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. Well, how about that? There's nothing quite like the adrenaline of hearing that music from Steve Torok, turning on the show, and seeing everybody jump in with their comments. Oh, it's just wonderful. Oh, my goodness. So we've got a lot of great conversations coming your way. Again, I'm your host, Dan Z. Let's welcome in our friends. James says the real question is, how about that Book of Fett trailer? OMG. We're going to talk about that. Absolutely, James. We have to. Minta, this is the way. It's CWK Day. Hello, Minta. Good to have you. Hello, Mason Z. What is up, buddy? Good to have you back on the show. Of course, Ross says he just got back from teaching and made it in time. Ross, always happy to have you. Mary, happy Monday and welcome November. Yes, happy November 1st, everybody. We made it through Halloween. I tried to wear somewhat of a fall color. Well, I guess it's not somewhat. It's orange and black, so there you go. Blake says, happy Boba Fett Day. I know you are excited, pal. I am certainly excited as well. And hello, Jason. So tonight we've got a really great show for you. We are going to talk about a couple of things. Well, of course, we're going to talk about our top 5 moments from Star Wars Visions. The Village Bride, we've got Star Wars news and trivia. And then Disney and Lucasfilm provided a gift that continues to give to us more Star Wars content, courtesy of Disney Plus. So we've got to talk about the trailer, right? And it wasn't originally on the schedule, but when something like that happens, you got to make it happen. You got to put it on CWK Live. So let's just go and jump into what's brewing, and we're going to talk about that Boba Fett trailer. What do you say? Punch it, Chewie.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
So this week, normally this is where I'd show you some different offerings from Bring Home the Bounty. And there are certainly some cool things there that we can certainly talk about at a future show. And they are all over Coffee with Kenobi's website and social media and Instagram. So you can look for that. Tomorrow will be when they release new items. So definitely, and be aware that I'm sure you already are, but whenever that happens, as soon as we get the green light, we share it on our website. We put it on Coffee with Kenobi's Instagram page and Twitter feed, Facebook, all over social media. Try to put some stories in there as well. So be sure to check that out because we want you to hear what you think about these great new items that have been revealed. All right, so we're not going to have an official top 5 of this. Actually, we're going to do that on the regular Coffee with Kenobi show this week. I do want to hear your initial thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett trailer that dropped today. So please put them in the comments and we will address them. As soon as I see them, we're going to talk about them on the show. So put your initial thoughts on the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett. As for me personally, well, I thought it was great. In fact, I thought it was better than I initially expected. I don't really know what I expected, and that wasn't it. But boy, was it nice to get some context for what this show is going to be about. So that's kind of, I'm going to save a lot of my comments for the Coffee with Kenobi regular show, which will be airing on Thursday. But I want to see what you think about the trailer itself. And hey, while you're doing that, be sure to share the show, tag a friend that's a Star Wars fan, and invite him to join us tonight on CWK Live. That would be great. Mary says she loves the fonts and the Boba Fett's color scheme. Oh, very good. Very good, Mary. Interesting. Mary, by the way, here's a little secret, is going to be one of the guests joining me this week to give top 5 things that she loves about the Book of Boba Fett trailer. Mary, is that one of yours, or is that just a bonus? Either way, happy to have your thoughts. Blake says they revealed very little, maybe the first 2 episodes. It's going to be full of surprises. I'm so happy with the tone of the trailer. Yeah, the tone is probably one of the things I'm the most excited about. It was a nice surprise. A very nice surprise. I really enjoyed it as well. Ross says a strong teaser and the Ithorian looked brilliant. Come on, live action Doc Ondar in the future, right? It does say bonus. Very good. Minta says it was insane. I got chills from the music and just the characters. Just Boba Fett saying that he wanted to be respected instead of feared was amazing. Yeah, there's some key bits of dialogue that you think will just kind of be part of the tone of this, I think. So very, very promising. Mason, buddy, what did you think about the trailer? I'm excited for your thoughts as well. I mean, that can go a lot of ways with this. I wasn't really sure why he dethroned Bib Fortuna. And this trailer doesn't really reveal much about that, except it does kind of give us an idea of maybe what is making him tick. But we'll see. We'll see. Fennec Shan was great as well. And Mason simply said it was great. And I was waiting for that, Ross. The Fennec Shan character is decent too. Yes, she is. And Ming-Na Wen is so cool. I was very fortunate to get to interview her for the Bad Batch. And she just does a great job. She doesn't seem to age either. Pretty amazing. All right. Well, if you think of other things when we go into Ask Dan Z, we can certainly talk about more of those things, because tonight we got to get to our category. We got to get to our top 5 moments from the Star Wars Visions episode, The Village Bride. To me, there are a lot of contenders for my favorite, but The Village Bride sets itself apart. I think The Village Bride is a tremendous, tremendous episode with a lot of heart, a lot of power, and a lot of spirituality, and a great action sequence. There's a lot of stuff to pick from this one. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into it now. My number 5 of the Village Bride is, I put Frozen Blast. So let's break this down a little bit for you. The names of the characters in the show, if you're not completely sure who they are. So F, her name is only given as F. She is the hero of this piece. She is the Jedi. Valko is the man that is the mentor, that has that helmet that also is a bit of a surprise to it. Also, kind of hard to see that helmet and not think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Just had to say that. And then Azu is the groom. Haru is the bride. And then Haru's sister is Saku. And Lord Izuma is the villain. So that's the names we're going to be operating with. Sorry, I got something in my eye there. Okay, let's see. James says number 5. Oh, I guess I should say what my number 5 is. So when F is fired upon by Lord Izuma, actually Lord Izuma fires at Saku, and then F freezes that blast in the air. Very reminiscent, of course, of Kylo Ren and Poe Dameron in The Force Awakens, but I really like that. I know we've seen things like that before. We saw it last week in The Twins, but I just thought it was really cool and effective here, and kind of a great sort of announcement of F's return to heroism. At least that's what the indications are based on the backstory, or what little we have of the backstory, just kind of given in snippets and flashbacks. So I really like that sequence. James is number 5, seeing the battle droids again. Gotta love that classic battle droid voice, who I can't remember who voiced him in the Clone Wars series. The person who voiced him in the Clone Wars series is the same person who voiced General Grievous. Anybody know? Matthew Wood is his name. He's a great guy, and he still did the voices there too. And he does a lot of the sound as well. Number 5 for Blake, the battle droids. I love the prequel Love Shown. Yeah, there's a lot of that in this one. Minta says, the style of the animation, it gave me the feeling that it was feeding off the vibes of Hayao Miyazaki. Oh yeah, yes, I definitely agree with that as well. There's a lot of inspiration for that. Number 5 for Mary, the use of the droids, from the probe droid just hanging along the trail to the clankers being used as the enforcers. Of course, we got a little Roger in there too. Oh yeah, you got to have a Roger. That's a must. Number 5 for Jason, that's all this war is, nothing but loss. What a cool and profound line. I thought that was really, really inspiring as well. And true. Brian, the Monty Python helmet, it's only a flesh wound, and the animation reminded me of the Pokemon series. Oh yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that is definitely true. Number 5 for Ross is, he says, Valko and F observing, they are just smart characters, very much in control. I like that too. Number 5 for Mason is when it said, I have a bad feeling about this, which I think is whenever you hear that in Star Wars, it's so iconic, and Mason really liked the use of that in this episode, The Village Bride. So that's Mason's number 5. All right, let's go ahead and jump into number 4. Number 4 for me is Saku Stands Up. So they're having their meal. Everybody's very calm and happy, but there's a very, very faint undertone of sadness because everybody knows that Haru is going to have to go with the Empire pretty soon. And Saku finally stands up and says, "Enough! We've got to stand up. We've got to fight. We've got to protect you." And she just thinks, "I got to pacify the bully. Basically, this is the right thing, so they will leave us alone." And of course, ultimately, that's not what they're going to do, because you can't make a deal with evil, because they're never going to hold their end of the bargain, and you just don't do that. But she has a good, noble heart. And Saku says, "No, enough's enough." And her bravery in standing up like that, I thought was really good. Mary says, "Good number 5, Mason." Absolutely, I agree. Number 4 for Minta, the Return of the Battle Droids that gave homage to the Clone Wars. I didn't put the Battle Droids on my list for some reason, but I love the Battle Droids, mostly because of Clone Wars, and mostly because it makes Mason laugh. So that's a good reason. Number 4 for Jason, a wedding celebration in the midst of impoverished circumstances. Very well said, Jason. I thought that was interesting too. The fact that they're all focused, they're only focusing on the joy in that moment, no matter what's going to happen later. And I think that's pretty inspiring. Let's see, number 4 for Mary. The music and vocals so similar to other anime series that have a serious undertone. Something very pleasant about the sound in The Village Bride. I agree with you very much. Anybody else have theirs? Let's see, James is number 4. The Sith character designs and the saber fights were amazing. Are you in the Village Bride? Or are you talking about the twins? Because I agree with you on that for sure with the twins. Brian, F's flashbacks, we get to see her past in small little bites. Yes, and I think this one would be great to have a novel for as well. Number 4 for Ross, seeing the negative impact the Separatists left on the natural resources of the planet. Such a great theme that shows up in so much Star Wars, especially in New Dawn. And of course with Operation Cinder as well. Oh, and the Village Bride. Okay, very good. Thanks, man. Blake's number 4, the wedding tradition. It had a very feudal Japanese feel to it and added to the world building with the planet. Wasn't that so beautiful? I wonder how much of Japanese myth or folklore or just tradition involves what we saw with Azu and Haru. That'll be interesting to find out. Very interesting to find out. All right, Mason's number 4 is the same as my number 5 when the blaster bolt is frozen in the air by F. It was a really cool sequence for sure. All right, let's jump into number 3. It looks like we're going to have a lot of time for trivia tonight, which is great. Number 3 for Valko is Valko's attempt to inspire F. So they're sitting around at the wedding feast, and Valko just very smoothly talks about what's going on and emphasizes the suffering, but doesn't really appear to have passed judgment, but he just comments with empathy, and F says, "I know what you're trying to do." And he's trying to inspire, but he's not being passionate or hyperbolic. He's just pointing out things that are happening in a very calm, cool, collected way. And I really like that leadership style. Very, very casual, but there's also, he knows what he's doing. He knows there's a passionate undertone there, but as it is in a controlled way, very, very effective. No worries, Mace. I understand, buddy. Number 3 for Mary. Haru, despite everything, she kept a calm demeanor throughout the situation. What an inspiration she is, for real. Number 3 for Mary is the blaster bolt being held in midair. Yes, very similar to Mason's 4 and my 5. James, Frozen Blast, very Kylo Ren vibes and Vader vibes. I think he used it in a canon comic. Yeah, James, good call. By the way, I love your shirt on your profile picture. Pretty fun. Number 3 for Jason, the haunting vocal music during the ascent to the ceremonial site on the mountain. Yes, that was very, very beautiful. And again, the soundtracks are on Spotify, so be sure to check them out. Ross's number 3, the flashback, similar to Brian's number 4, giving us glimpses into the past stories of the characters we know almost nothing about. Yes, very, very neat. I like that one as well. Let's see, Mason's number 3 is when F cuts off her Jedi Padawan braid and removes the mask. It's a very inspiring scene. Who doesn't love that moment in the story when the hero, Kanan did this before he was about to meet his fate. He removes his ponytail very famously. Of course, you see it in Mulan. You see it in a lot of great stories. He says, thanks, that's my Halloween shirt. It's a great shirt, buddy. Let's see. Brian's number 3, the build-up of taking the bride. The village builds and the music builds and the villain monologues. Wasn't that cool? Number 3 for Blake was the final confrontation between the frozen blaster and the killing blow to the Imperial. It was so cool to see. Yeah, there's something, it really had, even though it was a longer episode, it was 20-something minutes, 22 minutes, and it had kind of a slow build up, but it didn't feel slow when you're watching. It just seems like a natural, organic way to tell a story. And then when you get to the key moment at the end, it's just very impactful. I really thought it was very well done. Very well done. All right, let's go to number 2. Number 2 for me is F's transformation, similar to Mason's number 3. The act of her cutting off her Jedi braid and removing this mask and taking ownership and agency and choosing to help, choosing not to stay on the sidelines and to fight for justice. And just that, the ceremony of that cutting off the braid, and just I always like that. It's very, very powerful. Number 2 for Minta. Valko lending a hand battling the droids and his helmet being used as a weapon was clever. Yes, it was. Number 2 for Mary is F's lightsaber, very katana style. Yes. Oh, I know. I love that we got all these great new lightsabers because of Star Wars Visions. Let's see. Number 2 for Ross. F cutting her Padawan braid. It's on. Exactly. That means it is go time, people. Time to take care of business and not let anything happen that would not be just. Number 2 for Mason is, whoa, that moment, right? That moment when the battle droids go, whoa. It was pretty entertaining. And again, the battle droids are so much fun, aren't they? Number 2 for Jason, Haru's childhood memory of being with her mother. Both of them smiling. So heartbreaking, and moving was only a couple seconds long. Right, but very impactful. James echoes another thing that Mary said, the lightsaber designs. Yes, very cool. Number 2 for Blake. The wardrobe and the lack of it later on with the mask added so much to the storytelling, much like how Din Djarin removing his helmet was a pivotal story moment multiple times. Yes, and every time when you saw Fed take off his helmet, by the way, in that trailer, didn't you just think, how could you not think about that? The main character's name is F. The main character's name is F, just the letter F. That's all we have so far. All right, I think it's time for number 1. Should I do the drum roll? I think I'll do the drum roll. Number 1, top 5 favorite moments from The Village Bride. It's at the end. No, it's at the beginning. When Azu and Haru touch the mountainside and say, "We are the sky, we are the forest, we are the river." I love the spiritual nature of this. It's very ancient and beautiful and shows what is valued by Japanese culture. It's nature. It's how we work together. It's symbiosis. It's the force too, isn't it? There's a new name we have for the force in this one as well. But the spiritual nature is very calming and peaceful and quite lovely. I think the spiritual aspect of this is why I love this one so much. Brian's number 2, same as mine, the transformation. Excellent. Minta's number 1, F's single lightsaber strike. Need I say more? Exactly. It would have made Obi-Wan Kenobi proud. Mary's number 1 is F. We need more about her. Where did she come from? Who is her master? Where is she going? Yeah, where is she going? That's a good one. Number 1, Ross says this might be too generic. Just good conquering evil, a bully being put in his place by someone doing the right thing. That's not too generic. I think that's great. Number 1 for Brian. The couple's interaction with the stone and nature goes back to our first knowledge of the Force from Obi-Wan in Episode 4. It surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. That's right, Brian. And that reminds me, if you heard Coffee with Kenobi from 2 weeks ago, we did top 5 things that Star Wars New Hope teaches us. And that's something I talked about a lot in that episode. So be sure to check that out, Brian, if you haven't gotten a chance to do so. Number 1 for Jason F. She's fierce and good and has a cool ship and some sweet combat high heels. I know, isn't that cool? Like she clicks something like when she's running in these things. I thought that was pretty sweet too. I really like that. It reminded me a lot of iconic Japanese animation. Number 1 for Mason is the final defeat of the evil leader. The way that Lord Izuma is defeated by F, the kind of the beauty and simplicity of it, it was just super cool. And that was Mason's number 1. Well, thank you, everybody. That was great. Blake's number one, the music and the spiritual nature of the whole episode. The music added to the spirituality as any Star Wars soundtrack should. It's amazing to listen to on Spotify or any music streaming service. The vocals were done by a woman named Emmy Evans, and it gave that amazing sound and feeling. Well said, Blake. And one for James. I love how F's saber started out as gray, then she was fighting and turned to green. Oh, good catch. Also, that one Jedi grabbed a saber from a Sith and it turned from red to blue. Makes you think this is how the Jedi get their saber colors. Interesting. Yeah, it was a very cool thing. Really, really liked it a lot. Again, I think it's my favorite episode. I mean, I may change my mind as we walk through some of these, but I don't think so. I really like this one a lot. Speaking of liking this one a lot, next week is another great one. Top 5 moments from Star Wars Visions, The Ninth Jedi. Well, that is going to be pretty cool, too. So be sure to rewatch Star Wars Visions, The Ninth Jedi, and then we will talk about it next week on the show. Okay, so now it's time to jump into some Star Wars trivia. We need a top 10 for The Ninth Jedi. Well, now Blake is showing us which one he liked a lot, too. Yeah, it's a good episode. You're going to have to pick 5, though. We can have honorable mentions, even though we don't do a ton of those. But I think we can do honorable mentions. Well, it's time for Star Wars Trivia. As you know, when we do Star Wars Trivia, be sure to just think about the question. Do your best. I don't think anything will be too difficult. And don't Google it or look it up. Just let the Force guide you where it's going to. Minta says The Ninth Jedi was amazing. And Mary says, yes, it really was 2 episodes put together. Yep. That's true. That's true, but I still think we're going to do a top 5. I know we can do it. I have faith in us. If we can do it for episodes of The Mandalorian, we can do it for this. And it'll be fun. Exercise that critical thinking, that creative mindset that you all have so much in abundance. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right, let's do this. Let's do some Star Wars trivia. Okay, question number 1. An easy one, I think. How many credits does Han get in advance to take the Rebel heroes to Alderaan? How many credits does Han get in advance to take the Rebel heroes to Alderaan? Here it comes. Let's see your answers. Again, how many credits does Han get in advance to take the Rebel heroes to Alderaan? Jason says 2,000. Okay, Jason, good guess. Mita says 50,000. Brian says 2,000. Anybody else? I'm tempted to use these sound effects. James says 2,000. Ross says 7,000. Anybody else? I know what I would guess. Mason says 2,000. Anybody else? Mary says 10,000 now. Okay, I'm going to read the question and I'm going to give you the line. How many credits does Han get in advance to take the Rebel heroes to Alderaan? Ben says, I can give you 2,000 now, plus 15 when we reach Alderaan. And Han says 17, huh? All right, so the answer is 2,000. All right, does that help? Ta-da! Yep, the answer is 2,000. All right, very good. Let's go to the next one. How many massive primary engines power an Imperial Star Destroyer? How many massive primary engines power an Imperial Star Destroyer? Any ideas? Again, the question is, how many massive primary engines power an Imperial Star Destroyer? Ross says, I knew there was a 7 somewhere in that sentence. Jason says 3. Paul says 3. Hey, Paul, what's up, man? Ross says 3. Brian says 3. Mary says 3. Minta says 3. 3 is a magic number. We do know that. That's the song. Joseph says 3. Welcome, Joseph. Good to have you, buddy. Anybody else? How many massive primary engines power an Imperial Star Destroyer? Anybody else want to guess? Anybody else want to guess? How many massive primary engines power an Imperial Star Destroyer? Mason says 3, I think. Let's see, 1, 2. Looks like that's about everybody. The answer is 3. You all got that right. Nice job. Congratulations. Okay. Here's the next question. Who informs Governor Tarkin that the Death Star has entered the Alderaan system? Who informs Governor Tarkin, that the Death Star has entered the Alderaan system? Any ideas? Who informed Governor Tarkin that the Death Star has entered the Alderaan system? I'll give you a hint. This person is in the Empire. Is that a hint? Not really. I mean, it is, but it's really not. So Blake's guess is Admiral Mahdi. Jason's is as well. Joseph says the guy that got force choked. Brian says Admiral Mahdi. Anybody else want to take a guess? Ross says Piet because I can't think of another name right now. Mason says Admiral Danzer. Ooh, I like that. I wish Admiral Danzer was in that one. Mita says Admiral Mahdi. All right, anybody else want to take a guess? So the answer is... Who informed Governor Tarkin that the Death Star has just entered the Alderaan system? Admiral Mahdi is the answer. That really doesn't apply, but I really like these sound effects. You're going to hear a lot of them on this week's Pour Over, by the way. This Friday's Pour Over, I should say. All right. Oh, gosh. Interesting. All right, here's the question for all you prequel fans out there, and I can count myself one of those as well. Yeah, good job, everybody. Well done. How about a round of applause for everybody? Give yourself a round of applause. Yay. Nice job. Got some smart people here, as I say every time we do this. Love it. What Gungan has distinctive green skin and prominent eyebrows? What Gungan has distinctive green skin and prominent eyebrows? Ooh, I got a doozy of a question. I'm going to say that for the end. Brian says Boss Nass. Blake says Boss Nass. Ross says Tarples. Again, the question is, what Gungan has distinctive green skin and prominent eyebrows? Mary says Boss Nass. Minta says Boss Nass. Jason says Captain Tarples. Joe has the most creative question. He says Misa don't know. I like that. Man, I got a really good one for the end. I'm going to put that. The master dude who don't have a name. Oh, boy. I like it. So we've got Boss Nass. We've got Tarples. We've got Misa don't know. And then the master dude who don't have a name. The answer is Boss Nass. Boss Nass is the answer. Here's the next question. Who objects more than once to taking Queen Amidala to Tatooine? Who objects more than once to taking Queen Amidala to Tatooine? Anybody know who objects to more than once to taking Queen Amidala to Tatooine? Let's see. Ross says Panaka. Jason says Panaka. Anybody else want to guess on this one? Minta says Panaka. Blake says I see the face in my head but don't know the name. Mary says Captain Panaka. Who else? Anybody else have any ideas there? I'll read the question one more time, then we'll give you the answer. Who objects more than once to taking Queen Amidala to Tatooine? The answer is, as Brian just says too, Captain Panaka. Captain Panaka is the answer. All right, let's go to the next question. Mason, you got that one right too, buddy. Good job. All right, everybody's doing really, really well. Here's another one. Who has a readout of all the parts needed to repair Queen Amidala's ship? Who has a readout of all the parts needed to repair Queen Amidala's ship? Anybody know? Who has a readout of all the parts needed to repair Queen Amidala's ship? I wish I had a sound effect. Again, who has a full readout of all the parts needed to repair Queen Amidala's ship? Mason says Blake Weaver. Joe says R2. Ross says Qui-Gon. Paul does know, but Jonah says hi to Mason, and Mason says hi back to Jonah. Blake says we need to do an episode 1 group watch so I can remember this stuff. Yeah, that would be fun. Brian says Obi-Wan. Minda says R2. Jason says Obi-Wan. I like this. We're getting a lot of possible answers. Mason, I'll let you give a serious answer if you want to. Mary says R2. Again, the question is, who has a readout of all the parts needed to repair Queen Amidala's ship? We've got Qui-Gon, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we've got R2-D2 as guesses. And we also have a guess for Blake Weaver. So I don't think it's Blake, but I could be wrong. Again, one more time before I give the answer. Who has a readout of all the parts needed to repair Queen Amidala's ship? The answer is... Blake says, if I had the plans, that ship would never have left Tatooine. Oh, well, good to know. Mason also says R2. The answer is R2-D2. That was kind of a tricky one, I think. So good job, everybody. Let's see. And Paul also says R2. Very good. So what adorns the right side of C-3PO's chest plate while he toils as Jabba's translator? What adorns the right side of C-3PO's chest plate when he toils as Jabba's translator? I'll give you a second to think it over. Again, the question is, what adorns the right side of C-3PO's chest plate while he toils as Jabba's translator? Jason's answer is a restraining bolt. Okay. Ross says a restraining bolt. Joe says a restraining bolt. Joe or Joseph. Joe, do you prefer Joe or Joseph? Let me know. Mary says restraining bolt. Minta says restraining bolt. I'm noticing a pattern here. Blake says restraining bolt. Any other guesses on this one? Again, last time for the question. What adorns the right side of C-3PO's chest plate while he toils as Jabba's translator? And Paul says electric bolt thingy. Mason says cricket from Big City Greens. I don't think that's it. Brian says I can't remember, so let's go with everyone else. Restraining bolt. And Joseph prefers Joseph. All right, Joseph, that is it, my friend. An excellent name. All right, the answer is a restraining bolt, of course. A C-3PO Star Wars Celebration pin, if only. Probably hard to pin on there, but maybe it's like a magnet. I don't know. Good question. Here's, we're going to do 2 more questions, I think. 2 more questions. The first question is, who's the last of the Separatist leaders to die? Who's the last of the Separatist leaders to die? Joe says celery stalk. Oh, wait, that's Doctor Who. You know, this is going to be crazy, I know. I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who before, of any kind. Dan Slott would be like, what? But I've never seen it. Never seen it at all. Jason says Newt Gunray. Ross says Grievous. Brian says Newt. Again, who's the last of the Separatist leaders to die? Minta says Newt. Anybody else? The last of the Separatist leaders to die. Mary says Newt. Mason says Newt as well. The in charge dude. Anybody else? Last time. Who's the last of the Separatist leaders to die? Blake says Gunray to Anakin and Mustafar. James says, Newt Gunray, Lord Sidious promises peace. We only want, and his life ends by, yep. The answer is Newt Gunray. So nice job, everybody. Everybody so far, and not so far, but just collectively it's done very, very well. All right, here's the last one. Again, don't look this up. Just do your best. Do your best, forget the rest, right? Okay. The question is, how many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing to engage? If I had the sound effect, I would play it for you. How many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing to engage? That is a question. I'll ask it again. How many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing to engage? Dun dun dun. Anybody know? Again, how many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing to engage? We've got our first guess. Joseph says 3. Paul says in all the movies. Yes, in all the movies. Ross says 7. Brian says 5. Jason says 2. Mary says 4. Daniel says 3. Hello, Daniel. Blake says 1. Minta says 3. Anybody else have a guess? We've got a wide range, a wide spectrum of answers for this one, which I like. Much more interesting, I think. Mason says 4. Paul says 4. And Joseph suddenly thinks that he is wrong. And meanwhile, Jason is changing his answer to 3. Wow, this is exciting. I like this very much. I have a lot of faith that we're going to do very well. Yep, I think we're going to do very well. Very, very exciting. So I'll read it one more time. We're going to share the answer with you. Again, how many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing to engage? Jason is changing his answer to 3. So as far as how many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing to engage, the answer is, this definitely deserves a drum roll of some kind. The answer to how many scenes show the hyperdrive on the Falcon failing to engage, the answer is 3. 3 is the answer. Joseph, you are right. You are right off the bat. Daniel got it. Minta got it. Who else got it? Yeah, that was it. That was a tricky one. Jason got it. Yeah, I think I said that. So bravo, everyone. Nice work on Star Wars trivia this month. Oh, Brian says, Blake has watched all the Star Wars movies, right? Ooh. James, the scary thing is in a canon comic 20 years after Revenge of the Sith, Vader goes to that same room on Mustafar and Gunray's body is still there. Ooh, that is weird. Joseph says, sweet. I knew it. I don't know why I said 4. I think I would have had to think about that. I mean, this all takes place in Empire, but I probably would have had to think about that. I probably would have guessed 2 or 3, quite honestly. But yeah, now that I think about it, I can think about those 3 times. All right, very, very good, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump into Ask Dan Z. Boy, every time I see that package, I really want to go back to San Francisco and go to Lucasfilm and go to Rancho Obi-Wan. Man, I can't wait to go back. Ross is pretty sure I'm in the lowest grade this week. You know, Ross, I don't know. I feel like this was probably the most challenging one as far as the most variety of scores. It seems like some that everybody got, like universally, and then there were a few that were very like people were in a lot of different directions. And that was cool. It was very interesting. Well, look at based on my R2 that I built at Galaxy's Edge, which is very Halloween themed, although I picked it because that's the color of the school, black and orange, the school that I teach at. I need to get a Christmas droid, don't I? I think I do. Is the Book of Boba Fett technically Mando Season 3? No, I don't think so, James. I think it is running concurrently to what's going on in Season 3 and sort of in the Disney Plus Star Wars universe that we've got that's being built. But I would say, no, it is not technically Season 3. Well, who's your favorite Mos Eisley Cantina background character? You know what? I really like Walrus Man and Hammerhead or Momo Nadon, but the Kenner version. So I guess if I had to pick a background character, probably would be Momo Nadon or Hammerhead, I would say. What about you guys? That's a good question. A very good question. Let's see. Anybody else? Again, well, gosh, it's November 1st, which means we're 29 days away from the release of my new book, The Star Wars Character Encyclopedia. James says he likes the praying mantis. That's cool. Minta, do you think Disney Plus will ever release the original Star Wars holiday special? So would you watch it? I would watch it. I don't think that they will. If they do, that would be really a stunner, because I think it's pretty universally accepted it's not great. But I do have I mean, it isn't on YouTube. I don't know, but I think I need to show it to Mason just so he can see what it's all about. Paul says he doesn't like you. Oh, you're talking about Dr. Evazan. You start your TK kit yet? I haven't actually picked it up in a long time, but it's about 3/4 done. Joseph says the big praying mantis as well. Jason, has Disney announced when Kenobi, Ahsoka, and/or Mando season 3 are beginning? They have not. All we know is about Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, December 29th, right? And then as far as when the other ones are coming, are building, or the order, I don't know. But I wish I did. Of all of them, let's see, of Ahsoka, Kenobi, Andor, or Mando season 3, which one are you most excited about? How about that? For a question? I don't know if I can answer that. Ross, how do you feel about Wednesday releases instead of Friday for Disney Plus? I'm a little bummed. This is the start of the weekend. I like Fridays much more. Much more because it kind of gets that buzz going. You can watch it all weekend. I feel like when you do it on Wednesday, it kind of dies out quickly as far as the conversation goes. So I don't like that as much. I much more like Fridays. So it's kind of a tradition in our household, as we've said many times. We wake up early, we get breakfast ready, run downstairs, and just watch it. Daniel is building his first order TK. Oh, great, Daniel. I would love to see your progress in the CWK Cafe. Mary says Kenobi and Andor are the two she's the most excited about. Well, that's great. And Mando season 3 is filming now. That is correct, according to Carl Weathers' Twitter account. That is definitely seems to be the case. Speaking of the case, we are on the case. We did a great job this week talking about all things related to Star Wars Visions, the Book of Boba Fett. We had some fun with trivia. We always have a good time because we get to chat together. I'm so grateful for this amazing community. James wants to know that I see the new Black Series figures coming out soon. I think the little girl from the Bad Batch was announced. Yes, Omega is coming out, which I think is great. Mason's very excited for that. Ross says the tradition for Friday mornings gets crushed now. It will still be awesome. Yeah, we're still going to have fun. But there's really nothing like the Fridays. I love that. But who knows? Maybe we'll make a new tradition. Meantime, may the force be with you. Ross, thanks so much for coming, my friend. It was great having you on, as always. Again, be sure next week to invite a friend. The more people in this amazing community, the more people that have a voice here, the better, because you have a voice here on Coffee with Kenobi. This was fun. Thanks, Joseph. You're so welcome, my friend. Jason, have a great week. Fun to be with you. Daniel, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us. Blake, good night, my friend. He says, I'll tell you it 1,000 more times. This is the best community in Star Wars. Thank you so much, Blake. Be sure to invite more people into our incredible Star Wars community, both here, the CWK Cafe. Tweet out or put on Facebook or Instagram that you're listening to the show. It all makes a big difference in Coffee with Kenobi, and I'm so grateful for it, for your efforts, and for this awesome Star Wars family. We have a family here. We have a Star Wars family on Coffee with Kenobi, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Hope everybody had a great, happy Halloween, and get ready as we get towards Thanksgiving and Christmas time. Pretty soon we're going to get in the studios in Christmas form. Can't wait for that, and I can't wait to talk with each of you again. Until next time, have a great week, and remember, this is a live podcast you're looking for. Thank you so much, everybody. Be well.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.